وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. وبعد. Inshallah, we'll be discussing the Surah Yusuf, and one of the narrations of the circumstances of revelation is that the Prophet ﷺ and the companions were once sitting together, and the companions asked for the Prophet ﷺ for a story. Right? You know, sometimes when you tell stories, it just lightens the mood, and like fables and morals get there. So then the Prophet ﷺ, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed this surah. This is one narration that tells us that this was one of the circumstances of revelation. Also, the story of Yusuf alayhi salam was a story that was known in the Bible and the Torah, but the Arab they didn't know about it. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the surah with all of the information that is true, without any of the information that is false or fabricated or irrelevant. Right? So here, let's say the surah, let me say the translation.
Meccan surah dealing primarily with the story of Joseph, but framed by a 3-verse introduction about the Quran and a 10-verse epilogue about the Meccans' response to it, the punishment met by earlier disbelievers and encouragement for the Prophet ﷺ. In the name of God, the Lord of mercy, the giver of mercy. Alif Lam Ra. These are the verses of the scriptures that make things clear. We have sent it down as an Arabic Quran so that you people may understand. We tell you, Prophet, the best of stories in revealing this Quran to you. Before this, you were one of those who knew nothing about them. Joseph said to his father, Father, I dreamed of 11 stars and the sun and the moon. I saw them all bow down before me. And he replied, My son, tell your brothers nothing of this dream, or they may plot to harm you. Satan is man's sworn enemy. This is about how your Lord will choose you, teach you to interpret dreams, and perfect his blessing on you and the house of Jacob, just as he perfected it earlier on your forefathers, Abraham and Isaac. Your Lord is all-knowing and wise.
Here you see the introduction to the surah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes the Quran as in Arabic. When we talk about Quran, right, is this considered a Quran? Right, what I have in my hand? No, it's not, because it's translation. Right, the Quran is in Arabic, and this is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it in Arabic, in the Arabic language. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that Surah Yusuf is the best of stories. Right, best of stories, and if you read it, you really can connect with it on so many different levels that it brings peace, comfort to a person's heart. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions the dream of Yusuf alayhi salam. Maz, what did Yusuf alayhi salam see in his dream? Okay, why don't you and Razak come up here? There's 2 chairs, 3 chairs over here. You guys can come up here, inshallah. And the ones behind you, you guys can scoot up, inshallah. Alas, I'm not going to tell you this every day. When you guys come, just come sit and fill up the front rows first, and then go. It's like salah, okay? Is that okay? Okay, so come in. Let's share. Alright, what did he see in his dream? 11 stars. And the sun and the planet? No. Moon, there you go. Alright, alhamdulillah. And we'll talk about what those things are. When it comes to dreams, Islamically, there are 3 types of dreams that a person can have. Number 1 is a true dream from Allah. And the Prophet ﷺ said this is the only aspect of prophethood that still exists. Right? It doesn't necessarily need a deep interpretation, but you're making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes things clear to you, and you may see something in your dream. There's something else called, in Arabic we call it hadith al-nafs, right? Whisperings of the self. We'll say of the self. Okay? Say that somebody is reading an article before they go to sleep. Right? Adil is reading an article about how the Bulls are going to win the championship next year, and Derrick Rose is going to be 100% healthy. Okay? And then Adil has a dream that Derrick Rose gets injured, but then Adil Qadri comes and takes Derrick Rose's place and leads them to the promised land. Okay? So in that situation, is this a true dream? Is this a shaitani dream? No, this is what he was thinking about before he slept. So then this is what he thought about, right? And this is what he dreamt about, right? For sisters, right? They may be watching something on the Food Network, and all they see is like cakes and things, and they wake up and they're like, you know what? I had this dream that I saw this food and this cake and all of these things. This isn't necessarily a true dream that you're going to become a Food Network star or anything like that, or it's not a shaitani dream. But the third type of dream is a shaitani dream, right? Shaitani dream, like nightmares. Nightmares are from shaitan. And any type of dream that when you wake up from it, you need to do ghusl, these are from shaitan as well. So these are dreams. Also, the Prophet ﷺ told us that do not tell your dreams to anybody that you do not trust, or you don't feel that they may have the best interest in your mind, or nightmares, we don't tell to anybody. What do? If we wake up, we say, La ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah, lahul mulk wa lahul hamd wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir, a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. We turn to the opposite side and go to sleep. And then we don't discuss it. If it's a recurring nightmare, right, then you can discuss it only with the people of knowledge, right? And dream interpretation is not a knowledge like fiqh, like tafseer, like other sciences that we study. Sometimes people will come up to me and say, okay, can you interpret the dream? And I'll straight up and say, no, I don't know how to interpret dreams. Okay? So, there are three types of dreams, and don't tell your dreams to anybody. If it's a good dream, even if it's a good dream, don't tell it to just anybody, but tell it to the people that you trust. That's why Yaqub alayhi salam, what did he tell Yusuf alayhi salam? Don't tell your brothers about this dream. Why? Because shaitan might use this as a means of having them, developing jealousy between you and them. Okay?
There are lessons in the story of Joseph and his brothers for all who seek them. The brothers said to each other, although we are many, Joseph and his brother are dearer to our father than we are. Our father is clearly in the wrong. One of them said, kill Joseph or banish him to another land, and your father's attention will be free to turn to you. After that you can be righteous. Another of them said, do not kill Joseph, but if you must, throw him into the hidden depths of a well, where some caravan may pick him up. They said to their father, why do you not trust us with Joseph? We wish him well. Send him with us tomorrow, and he will enjoy himself and play. We will take good care of him. He replied, the thought of you taking him away with you worries me. I am afraid a wolf may eat him when you are not paying attention. They said, if a wolf were to eat him, then there are so many of us, we would truly be losers. Then they took him away with them, resolved upon throwing him into the hidden depths of the well. We inspired him, saying, you will tell them all of this at a time when they do not realize who you are. And at nightfall they returned to their father weeping. They said, we went off racing one another, leaving Joseph behind with our things, and a wolf ate him. You will not believe us, though we are telling the truth. And they showed him his shirt, deceptively stained with blood. He cried, no, your souls have prompted you to do wrong. But it is best to be patient. From God alone I seek help to bear what you are saying. Some travelers came by.
Okay, so the brothers, they said that Yusuf alayhi salam and his youngest brother are more beloved to our father than us, and our father is in the wrong. Islamically, we do not believe that Yaqub alayhi salam externally ever showed them anything to make them feel this way. But this is something that was just perceived by them, right? I remember when I was in graduate school, I had to go and attend a sermon at a church, and they were talking about the story of Yusuf alayhi salam, and they said that it was Yaqub's parental failure that caused his brothers to do this to Joseph, or Yusuf alayhi salam. Islamically, we reject this concept completely. Okay, the brothers, right? They were jealous of Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam, and they plotted this. So one of them said, kill him, right? And the other one said, no, don't kill him, but throw him in a well. What do we learn from that? Is that there may be certain circumstances or situations where we cannot eliminate the sin completely. So what do we do in that situation? We lessen it, right? What's worse here, murder or throwing him in a well? So they weren't going to listen to they weren't going to listen if we said, don't do anything. They said, okay, no, we have to do something, we're going to murder him. So they said, okay, don't murder him, but throw him in a well. Okay? Then they wolf, right? They said that, Yaqub alayhi salam, he said that I'm afraid that a wolf is going to eat him. So they said, if a wolf eats him, then we're losers. We're a group of people. Then we'll be able to fend him off and protect him from the wolf. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decreed that, they planned whatever they plotted. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala inspired Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam and told him, yeah, don't worry. Don't worry, you're going to tell them about what they did to you. Well, they're not going to recognize or know who you are. So whatever adversities that you're going to face, understand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is on your side. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to help you. So you see that he'll go through different stages in his life. Right? When he's sold and things like that, when he's accused, when he's in prison, all these things. But he always holds on to this promise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That there's going to come a time where I'm going to inform my brothers about what they did to him. So we need to hold on to the promises of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? When things go badly, or things are being challenged, then always hold on to the promises of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the brothers, they came and they were lying, and they said that bidamin kadib, they came with false blood, and the blood that was not his, and they put it on the shirt, and then they said that this is a shirt of Yusuf alayhi salam, and the father realized, and he's a prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it doesn't take a genius, but he's a prophet as well, so he realized real quickly that this is all a lie, because the shirt was not ripped and torn. And if the wolf ate Yusuf alayhi salam, is the wolf going to take off his shirt, place it on the side, and then eat him? So he's like, whatever you guys are saying, these are lies. But he said, but I'm going to seek assistance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and shaitan has made, or your own nafs has made, this all fair seeming to you and appealing to you, so that he justified it to you.
Some travelers came by. They sent someone to draw water, and he let them down, and he let down his bucket. Good news, he exclaimed. Here's a boy. They hid him like a piece of merchandise. God was well aware of what they did, and then sold him for a small price, for a few pieces of silver. So little did they value him. The Egyptian who bought him said to his wife, look after him well. He may be useful to us, or we may adopt him as a son. In this way we settled Joseph in the land and later taught him how to interpret dreams. God always prevails in his purpose, though most people do not realize it.
Okay, so Yusuf alayhi salam, the prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, was sold, and he was sold for a very, very low price. Okay, دراهم معدودة وكان فيه من الزاهدين. وكان فيه من الزاهدين is that they didn't really even want him. They just bought him just because, it's something good to have. Alright, so what happened when he was bought? Who bought him? An Egyptian bought him, right? So, why did I write that an Egyptian bought him? Why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mention that an Egyptian bought him? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is showing us that people from the same place can be very, very different. What do we mean by that? Right? Who is the most mentioned or discussed Egyptian in the Quran? Fir'aun. But we also see that the person that bought Yusuf alayhi salam, he did take care of Yusuf alayhi salam, and he did take care of him, and we'll see how he took care of him as well.
When he reached maturity, we gave him judgment and knowledge. This is how we reward those who do good. The woman in whose house he was living tried to seduce him. She bolted the doors and said, come to me. And he replied, God forbid. My master has been good to me. Wrongdoers never prosper. She made for him, and he would have succumbed to her if he had not seen evidence of his Lord. We did this in order to keep evil and indecency away from him, for he was truly one of our chosen servants. They raced for the door. She tore his shirt from behind. and at the door they met her husband. She said, "What other than prison or painful punishment should be the reward of someone who tried to dishonor your wife?" But he said, "She tried to seduce me." A member of her household suggested, "If his shirt is torn at the front, then it is she who is telling the truth, and he who is lying. But if it is torn at the back, then she is lying, and he is telling the truth." When the husband saw the shirt was torn at the back, he said, "This is another instance of women's treachery. Your treachery is truly great. Joseph, overlook this. But you, wife, ask forgiveness for your sin. You have done wrong."
One of the biggest challenges, as the Prophet ﷺ has mentioned, that he has left no fitna after his time for men than women, the opposite gender. Right? And this is a big, big fitna, it's a big, big challenging test. And many, many people have succumbed to this trial, this fitna. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us all. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us all the ability to fear Him. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us that in this situation, the woman, she's the one who tried to commit haram with Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam. She was a woman of status, of power, and she tried to commit haram with them. She took her precautions, she locked the door, and how it says, right? It means that not only was it wonder, think about, how there's a deadbolt. Imagine many, many different types of deadbolts, many, many different types of doors. And then she said, "Okay, we're safe, no one's here, let's commit haram." So he said, "No, I seek Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's protection." Right? And he said, "My Lord has been good to me." What does this mean? Scholars say it means two things, right? The person from Egypt that bought him was good to him, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has been good to him. So if he committed this haram, not only is he disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he's also taking advantage of the blessings of the person from whose house he's living in, right? This wasn't any woman. This was the mother, not the mother, this was the wife of the Egyptian that adopted him. Okay? So, what did he do? He ran. Even though the door was locked, the doors were locked, he ran. Right? And he had to get out of there. He had to do whatever he could to get out of there. And when he made that effort, even though if we see even this door, if he tell, well, he told me this door is locked, right? As soon as he told me that, what do? We went out through that door. But if that door was not open, and the only thing that we could do in that situation was try to make sure that doors, or try to push that door open, that's what we would have to do. Just to say, "Oh Allah, I tried to get away from this situation." So when he did that, and they raced, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said they raced towards the door. What did they find? They found the husband there. And the wife immediately, she started making accusations against Yusuf alayhi salam. And then the person from her family, what did he say? Right? How are they going to figure out who was right and who was wrong? The shirt. Okay? There are 3 shirts in the story of Yusuf alayhi salam. I taught this to seniors at CKCS last year, and one of the questions was, there are 3 different shirts in the story of Yusuf. Tell the significance of each shirt in the story. I do have a test for this surah if anybody wants it after we cover it, by the way. Okay, what's the significance of the shirt here? Okay, prove his innocence or prove her guilt. Either way you look at it, right? How is the shirt going to do this? Okay, where it's torn. If it's torn from the front, right? He was being the aggressor, and she was trying to protect herself. But if it's torn from the back, he was trying to run away, and she was pulling him towards her. So when they looked at the shirt, where was it torn? In the back, right? You may see some narrations, like Imam Al-Dudi and others, they've taken, I think, from Israeliyat and Imam Ibn Kathir rahimahullah as well. They say that it was a baby that spoke in the cradle that said that was the witness, right? There's no evidence from the Prophet ﷺ in regards to this, but this is most probably from Israeliyat, right? So we can't confirm it nor can we reject it. All we can say that the witness was from her family. So the husband now, what did he do? He said that, okay, we know you're at fault. Yusuf alayhi salam, forget about this. She made a mistake, don't worry about it. But, and he told his wife, he got mad at his wife, and he said that this is from the plot of women, things like that. A mistake that he made was he did not separate them. When we see these type of things happening, right, we shouldn't think it may be a one-time incident and they're going to learn from it, because sometimes our passions, our desires overcome our reason and our understanding, right? If someone logically thinks that if what she's doing, is it justified? Should she be doing what she's doing? No. But why did she do it? Right? Her love or her attraction and her desire overcame her. So what we should do in this situation is we should separate the people. Right? Because it's not halal for him to marry her, nor is it halal for her to marry him because she's already married. Okay? But because they didn't separate, they didn't address the problem, what happened? The problem escalated. And sometimes, another thing that happens sometimes is that for fear of public exposure, we try to cover things up. And when we try to cover things up, the problems become worse and magnified, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala exposes them. So if there's a problem, there's an issue, right? We need to make sure that it's addressed properly and people are protected.
Some women of the city said, "The governor's wife is trying to seduce her slave. Love for him consumes her heart. It is clear to us that she has gone astray." When she heard their malicious talk, she prepared a banquet and sent for them, giving each of them a knife. She said to Joseph, "Come out and show yourself to them." And when the women saw him, they were stunned by his beauty and cut their hands, exclaiming, "Great God! He cannot be mortal. He must be a precious angel." She said, "This is the one you blame me for. I tried to seduce him and he wanted to remain chaste. But if he does not do what I command now, he will be put in prison and degraded." Joseph said, "My Lord, I would prefer prison to what these women are calling me to do. If you do not protect me from their treachery, I shall yield to them and do wrong." And his Lord answered his prayer and protected him from their treachery. He is the all-hearing, the all-knowing.
Question, why did she throw the banquet?
That she was not wrong. She was justified.
Okay, to her why she tried to seduce him to justify her actions. But what was the impetus? Why? What was the reason behind it? Yeah, why? We know. But the talk of the woman. The talk of the woman. And the judgmental attitude of the woman looking down upon her and saying that how could she do this? Right? So she said, how could I do it? I'll show you. And not only will I show you, I'll put knives in your hands so that when you see him, you'll cut your own fingers. Right? So that there's so many issues wrong with this whole situation. First, the talking of the woman. Second, the ability not to let the talking of the woman just let it go. Number three, holding a banquet and getting revenge on them for talking about them. Right? All of these things. Right? I'm not trying to say men will do the same thing. I've seen some of your Facebook posts and all this. It's just like this bad things. Go, leave it alone. Right? We have to develop thicker skins. If someone says something bad about us, we're not out to destroy their lives. We're not there to like have their fingers cut off. These type of things. This is very what's the word for it? Very malicious. Right? This is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala right? Push back with that which is good. Okay? So you look at the society too. So she had a banquet. What happened? What did she do? When they came in, what did the people say? This can't be a mortal. This has to be an angel, and they cut their fingers. And she said, this is what I guess I did try to seduce him, but he refused. And if he refuses again, he's going to be among the prisoners, in prison. So Yusuf alayhi salam, he said, "Oh Allah, prison is more beloved to me than disobeying you. And if you don't protect me, you don't help me, you don't guide me, then I fear I'm going to fall into their trap." So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He did protect him. He did make him go to prison. But you see the benefit in even him going into prison. Right? And we'll talk about that inshallah next set of ayats.
In the end, they thought it best, after seeing all the signs of his innocence, that they should imprison him for a while. 2 young men went into prison alongside him. One of them said, "I dreamed that I was pressing grapes." The other said, "I dreamed that I was carrying bread on my head and that the birds were eating it." They said, "Tell us what this means. We can see that you are a knowledgeable man." He said, "I can tell you what this means before any meal provided for you arrives. This is part of what my Lord has taught me. I reject the faith of those who disbelieve in God and deny the life to come. And I follow the faith of my forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We would never worship anything beside God. This is part of God's grace to us and to all mankind. But most people are ungrateful." Fellow prisoners, would many diverse gods be better than God, the one, the all-powerful? All those you worship instead of him are mere names you and your forefathers invented. Names for which God has sent down no sanction. Authority belongs to God alone, and he orders you to worship none but him. This is the true faith, though most people do not realize it. Fellow prisoners, many of you will serve his master with wine. The other will be crucified, and the birds will peck at his head. That is the end of the matter on which you ask my opinion. Joseph said to one he knew would be saved, "Mention me to your master." But Shaitan made him forget to do so, and so Joseph stayed in prison for a number of years.
Okay, so when Yusuf alayhi salam went to prison, there were 2 prisoners that came to him, and they asked him to interpret their dream for them. And here it says, we can see that you're a knowledgeable man. This is a wrong translation. Right? It says, Razi gives us interpretation of Muhsinin. Right? Muhsinin is the person that is ihsan, it's excellent in all aspects of his life. So Yusuf alayhi salam, he could have very, very easily been like, you know what? My life is tough. My brothers, they made sure that I was put in a well. I was sold into slavery. The people that I expected to take care of me, the woman that I expected to take care of me, she tried to seduce me. And when I refused, then she had me in prison. You know what? I'm not going to care about anyone or anything. I'm just going to look out for me. But he didn't do that. How do we know? Because inna naraka min al-muhsinin, we see that you are a person ihsan. You worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and you benefit his creation. So can you help us? Can you interpret this dream for us? So they told him the dream, right? And before they told him the dream, after they told him the dream, he's like, yeah, no problem, I'll interpret it for you. But I'll interpret it for you before we have our next meal. But let me talk to you about something else real quick. What did he do? He talked to them about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Who is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Why is he able to interpret this dream? Who is the one that taught him? And he told them that who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, what he believes in, and he doesn't commit shirk, and he's grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He said, is one God better than the ones that you have added? Is one God more worthy of worship than many different gods that have no basis? And then he interpreted their dream for them. And he said that one of them is going to be executed, and one of them is going to be free, and he's going to be a wine presser for the king. And he told the one that's going to be free, remember me when you're with the king. Remember my situation when you were the king, and don't forget me. But Shaitan caused that person to forget, so Yusuf alayhi salam remained in prison for a number of years. A number of more years. Bidr sinin, scholars say bidr in the Arabic language is a number between 3 to 9. Most Mufassirin say that he stayed an additional 7 years after this incident in prison. Okay, some of them say that because he asked the person to remember rather than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but most scholars say that he asked the person that maybe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes the person a means to help him.
The king said, I dreamed about 7 fat cows being eaten by 7 lean ones, 7 green ears of corn, and 7 others withered. Counselors, if you can interpret dreams, tell me the meaning of my dream. They said, these are confusing dreams, and we are not skilled at dream interpretation. But the prisoner who had been freed at last remembered Joseph and said, I shall tell you what this means. Give me leave to go. Truthful Joseph, tell us the meaning of 7 fat cows being eaten by 7 lean ones, 7 green ears of corn, and 7 others withered. Then I can return to the people to inform them. Joseph said, you will sow for 7 consecutive years as usual. Store all that you reap left in the year, apart from the little you eat. After that will come 7 years of hardship, which will consume all but a little of what you stored up for them. After that will come a year when the people will have abundant rain and will press grapes.
So the king sees a dream, right? And the dream, the details of the dream are there: 7 fat cows being eaten by 7 skinny cows, and they don't know what the dream is. And the reason that they are very hesitant for even interpreting the dream of the king in a wrong way, because if the king doesn't like the interpretation, he might have executed. So they're like, look, we don't know this. So then, after a period, like most scholars say 7 years, the person that was freed, he remembered, oh, there was this one prisoner that was with me in jail that interpreted my dream, and my dream came true. Let's go see where he is. So give me permission. So he went back, and he found Yusuf alayhi salam. What did Yusuf alayhi salam do for him? What did Yusuf alayhi salam say? He interpreted the dream. Did he make a condition, say that now you remember me? When you need me, now you remember me? Okay, free me first. Then I'll interpret your dream for you. He didn't say any of this. Why? He understood that sometimes we have to make personal sacrifices for communal benefit. And that's the character of Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam. And that's why, as you'll see, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala elevates his status in this dunya before the akhirah. So, whenever someone comes to us, and you know, I see this a lot, when people, their relationships are affected because they feel like somebody only calls them when they need something. Right? Don't let that affect you. This is reality. People are busy, everyone's like that. Don't be like, oh no, I'm not going to help him because he's just a needy person and things like that. No. Thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He gave you the ability and the position to be able to help somebody. Right? Thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and be like Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam. If you see people in need, even though they might have forgotten you in times of prosperity, when things are going good for them, still help them out. Right? Because your helping them is not contingent on them thanking you. Everybody understand that? You helping others is not contingent on them thanking you. Your helping somebody else is contingent on you wanting the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. People will forget. People will forget or they refuse to remember. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will never forget. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will always remember. And the only hope we have is in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the only one that will reward us is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he interpreted the dream for them. Right? And then
the king said, bring him to me. But when the messenger came to fetch Joseph, he said, go back to your master and ask him about what happened to those women who cut their hands. My lord knows all about their treachery. The king asked the women, what happened when you tried to seduce Joseph? They said, God forbid, we know nothing bad of him. And the governor's wife said, now the truth is out. It was I who tried to seduce him. He is an honest man. Joseph said, this was for my master to know that I did not betray him behind his back. God does not guide the mischief of the treacherous. I do not pretend to be blameless, for man